So people ask me this question very often, right? TJ, what made you get out the military, right? And the answer is simple. It got old. It got old. Nothing against the military. I'm glad that I did it. If I could go back, I would do it again. I do not regret that decision that I made in May of 2017. I do not regret that. It changed my life for the better, and now I'm living off the benefits of my sacrifices, and I'm thankful for everything that I gained from the Army. Right, and I'm gonna tell you something right now. I will always have a soft spot in my heart for the Army, and I highly recommend it. If you're in your early 20s or if you fresh out of high school and you really don't have a plan, you're not an athlete or whatever, go ahead and get you a contract. Sign you a 2 to 3 year contract and change your life forever. You can't go wrong with it, right? But it's a lot that goes on in the military when you're wearing that uniform that only people in the uniform understand, right? And one of those things is unpredictability, right? We call it organized chaos. So you really don't know what the next day might bring. And I'm talking about just regular work. Like, of course, we're not at war. So I'm not talking about war and combat situations. I'm talking about every day, Monday through Friday, putting on that uniform and going to work. You know what I mean? You really don't know what you're gonna see and what's gonna happen, right? Like one day, hey, everybody is gonna train for the field, right? And then the next day, oh wait, surprise inspection, then boom, boom, boom. Or you can have some commander or some first sergeant just wake up with the royal ass, and next thing you know, hey, I need everybody at work tomorrow at 4 in the morning, and nobody is leaving until 7 p.m. That has happened to me on numerous occasions, right? So unpredictability is the main thing, but I just feel like I outgrew it. You know what I mean? Like when I joined the Army, I was fresh out of college. I had dropped out of college. I was playing basketball at Prairie View. You know what I mean? I was a knucklehead, getting in trouble, doing stupid shit. So I had to do something with my life before I winded up throwing my life away just due to my immaturity and stupidity, right? So the Army was just the best decision that I could make at that time. I was 23 years old, right? So my job is a human resources specialist, right? I made sure that I chose a job that could carry over to the civilian side because I did not plan on doing 20 years from the jump, right? I planned on like, hey, I'm gonna use this as a stepping stool. I'm gonna change my life and I'm gonna do better. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I chose to be a HR specialist because I knew that this could carry over as a civilian, right? Because you could join just to kill people and do shit like that. But what skill do you acquire? What skill do you have? What can you put on your resume? You know what I mean? So you gotta think about that, right? But doing HR in the Army is a completely different ball game than doing HR as a civilian, right? Because you still gotta do Army shit. You still gotta go to the motor pool, which that's where all the vehicles are at, right? You gotta maintain a vehicle. You still gotta shoot your weapon. You still gotta go to the field at random times and sleep outside for 2 to 3 weeks at a time. You're still gonna go on rotations, deployments, and do things like that. So you still got to be a soldier, right? While you're maintaining your actual job. You know what I mean? So and there's plenty of jobs, right? You could be a HR clerk, mechanic, nurse, assistant. Like there's so many things you could be a cop. Well, not we call it a MP, a military police, but that's a cop. It's except it's in the military, right? But it's a lot of jobs that you can do in the Army. But at the end of the day, we are all soldiers. You know what I mean? So you still gotta do soldier shit. You still gotta train to fight as if the fight was to pop off tomorrow. And just throughout my career, I've learned a lot, and the main thing that I've learned is patience. Right, the Army has taught me so much patience because you're gonna deal with a lot of bullshit people, right? Because one thing about the Army, it gives a lot of people the power complex, depending on their rank. right? So once you make sergeant, or if you're like some type of officer, you could kind of walk around with your chest out because you outrank a lot of people, and you got a lot of people that allow that rank to get to their head, right? And it makes you want to slap the shit out of them, but you can't do that because you will lose your job, or you will just lose a lot of money, right? So you gotta be careful with that. And just for me personally, it just got old, right? I've had some of the best times of my life in the army, and I've had some of the worst times of my life in the army, right? And I'm just at a point to where I feel like I'm at peace with my career, and it's time for me to move on, right? One thing about it is that you hopefully toxic leadership is the worst thing you could probably experience in the military, because it's really not much you could do about it, right? You can complain, you could do whatever you can, but if that leader is not doing something morally wrong or illegal, you might have to put up with that bullshit leader. You know what I mean? So I've dealt with that situation twice. It's very traumatizing. Like, it's nothing worse than waking up and the first person you see every morning is somebody that you hate. That's the first person you see, and that's the last person you see before you go home for the day. It is nothing worse than that, right? And that's happened to me twice. You know what I mean? It makes you want to drink. It makes you mad. You're pissed off every other day. When you try to have relationships with women, you're snapping on the woman because you pissed off about shit that happened at work. So it's a lot of mental. It's a mental game. You know what I mean? And one thing about the military, and it's subjective, right? The military is very subjective. All units are different. Like, a lot of people had the privilege of being stationed overseas, like Germany and places like that, and they just had a solid, peaceful career. But you can have people like me that's been stationed in places like Fort Riley, you know what I mean, which is like literally a hellhole, and you're just high pace and high speed your entire career, going to the field all the time, dealing with bullshit leaders, having a high workload, early mornings, late nights, working on weekends, just constant detail to detail. Like, I've been dealing with that the majority of my career, right? And it just got old. You feel me? Like, at the end of the day, it just got old, and I just got tired of it. You know what I'm saying? So I made sergeant back in 2021, and I had re-enlisted, right? And the only reason why I re-enlisted was because I wanted to give that rank a shot. You know, like, okay, maybe I want to be a sergeant. Let me see what it's like to be a sergeant before I decide to get out the military, right? And I made that decision, and I realized, like, maybe 5 months after I made sergeant, that I probably made the wrong decision. I probably should have got out. You know what I mean? But I had to thug it out. You know, I was under a contract. I raised my right hand, so I had to serve for about 3 more years before I actually decided to get out. You know what I mean? But long story short, and I might could do a part two. Like, I'm trying to summarize everything, but summarizing 8 years in one video, it's kind of hard to do. And I don't want to just talk y'all ear off and shit like that. But I might give y'all part two. But overall, the main reason why I decided to get out was because it simply got old, and I wanted to try something else. That's it. You know what I mean? It got old, and it's very unpredictable. You know what I mean? Because you really don't know what you're gonna deal with, depending on what unit or what company you go to. You just never know. You know what I mean? Like, a commander can simply just change your life. Like, let's say you're a basketball player and you like to play recreational basketball. A commander could literally wake up one morning and say, "Hey, if you fall under my battalion, no more basketball." Guess what? You just change your life. You can't hoop anymore. And if you're caught playing basketball, you're subjected to lose your money, have extra duty for about 30 to 40 days. So it's so much shit that comes with being in that uniform that, like I said before, only people in the uniform understand. You know what I mean? But that's just basically the reason why I got out. No hard feelings. Like I said, the Army will always have a special place in my heart. I will always recommend the Army to anybody, or just the military in general, Navy, Army, Air Force, Marines, whatever floats your boat. Do it. Do it. You know what I mean? If you have a thought like, hey man, I'm thinking about joining the military, do it. Do it. You know what I mean? And it's gonna change your life. Now, don't mess it up. If you get in trouble and get kicked out, that's a different ball game, because you really just wasted your time, because you're gonna lose everything you worked for if you get in trouble and get kicked out, right? But if you're able to obligate a contract for at least 3 years of your life, you just officially change your life forever. Forever. You know what I'm saying? So I highly recommend it. But just for me, and I served 8 years, right? For me, it just got old. It was just time to move on. But I just feel like sharing that with y'all, because I just had this conversation with a friend of mine. But yeah, man. So y'all let me know what y'all think, man. It's your boy TJ the Realist. I might do more personal videos about my life. Y'all just let me know what y'all want me to do, man. You know what I mean? But I appreciate y'all for y'all support. Like, subscribe, do all the good things. Catch y'all later.